Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is John Buck, and if I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, I have the opportunity and privilege of serving on the board of directors with the ministry and then also volunteering in the ministry. And each Monday morning, we bring to you these short videos known as Monday Morning Ministry Moments for you, otherwise known as For and For You. And these messages are intended to share hope and inspiration with you. And one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about today is your younger you. For many of you watching, I know that you've had some sort of trauma as a child, whether it was abandonment or emotional neglect or death of a mother or a mother type figure. And whether it was, whether it was grief or some other form of trauma, one of the things that we talk about in the ministry is Erickson's stages of development. And if you are interested in learning more about that, I strongly encourage you to look it up. It's Erickson's, Erickson''S, Erickson's stages of development. Erickson was a German psychologist who studied who studied psychology, obviously, but who also studied specifically the formation of our development. And he purports that our psychosocial development is impacted based on the age we were when we experienced a trauma, a conflict, again, a grief, a loss, or some sort of abandonment. And he says that when we experience this, he describes it as a conflict, but when we experience this trauma, it serves as a turning point in our development. And if people deal with that experience in a positive manner and they firmly, fully deal with that loss, then it will have significant impact on the psychological development of the child and eventually the adult growing up. However, if that trauma is not dealt with, then it can have serious impact on the development of the child and again, having impact on the adult. For those of you who may not be familiar with my story, I lost my mom just right after my 12th birthday. She was diagnosed with cancer just after when I was 6 years old. And so much of my childhood was spent in that actually nurturing her and being more of a caregiver for her during my younger years. So my area specifically that was impacted is known as the industry versus inferiority stage. And this is the stage that lays the foundation for self-esteem and belonging. And interestingly enough, I've struggled probably my whole life with self-esteem. And if I think back to 1982 when my mom died, counseling just simply was not prevalent. I remember my dad took my brother and I to a counselor that was available at the hospital where my mom passed away. And we went to our one session and then that was it. Again, counseling just wasn't prevalent, but I can now see as an adult how these things have had an impact on me, particularly in the area of self-esteem. One of the things that I have been talking a lot about recently with my own personal counselor is this ability to be able to go back and have a conversation with my younger child or the younger child within me. I've not yet done this, but something that she has strongly encouraged that I do is write a letter to my younger child. And this is something I really encourage you to do as well, particularly if you have not fully dealt with that grief. This is part of my grief healing, is to go back now and have a conversation with the younger me. And more specifically, what would I say to her? I would like to tell her, first of all, how proud I am of her for overcoming, and particularly at a period of time where the grief that I experienced was unlike anything in my short 12 years that I had ever experienced. I would like to tell her how very proud I am of her. So I encourage you to think about, if you continue to struggle with grief, if you continue to think about, excuse me, how you go about moving forward with that grief, I really encourage you to think about whether or not you need to go back and have a conversation with your younger you. And, what would you tell her? Most importantly, of course, I would hope that you would be kind, but I hope that you would also praise and recognize what she's been through. I hope that you are well again, and I pray that you are so blessed. Until next time, take great care.